Lake, Worth Beach, Florida. It's the kind of place that makes you stop and breathe it all in. The soft crash of waves, the endless sunshine, the warmth of a community where everyone seems to know your name. It's paradise. Or at least it looks like it. But even the most beautiful places can hold the darkest secrets. Beneath the laughter and the sunsets, this peaceful community was about to be shaken to its core. In June 2017, on a night just like this one, something unthinkable happened. A story of betrayal, deception, and chilling secrets that would leave an entire town reeling. A story that forces us to ask, how well do we really know the people closest to us? This is the story of what hides beneath the surface. A story that proves trust isn't always as strong as we think, and that even in the brightest places, darkness can creep in. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We dive into the stories that others are too afraid to tell. And if you've been here before, thank you for your support. It's because of you that we can keep uncovering the unexpected. Today's story will challenge everything you think you know about trust, loyalty, and the people you hold closest. This is a story of secrets that tore apart a family and a community. So stick with me, because once we begin, you won't be able to look away. The truth has a way of surfacing, one chilling detail at a time. Let's uncover what really happened that night. Before we dive deep into the case that shocked this community, let's take a moment to meet the woman behind the headlines. Who was Makiva Jenkins? What made her story so inspiring, and why did so many people feel connected to her? Makiva Jenkins was a fighter. Born and raised in Florida, her life wasn't always easy. At one point she faced the unimaginable. Homelessness. For many, that's where the story ends. But for Makiva, it was just the beginning. She took that pain, that struggle, and turned it into the fuel she needed to rewrite her story. And she did. By 2017, Makiva was more than just a success story. She was an inspiration. A wife, a mother of 3 with another baby on the way, and the founder of a thriving business dedicated to helping others achieve financial freedom. She wasn't just building a life for herself, she was building a legacy. Her social media was filled with positivity. She shared her wins, her lessons, and her belief that no matter how hard life got, there was always a way forward. Posts like this one showed just how far she'd come. We went from being homeless in 2011 to making 6 figures in 2017. No matter what the road looks like, keep going. Makiva's transparency was her strength. She didn't just share her victories, she shared the struggles that got her there. And that's why people loved her. She made them feel like they could do it too. But behind the scenes, not everything was as it seemed. As Makiva's success grew, so did the attention she attracted. And as we all know, attention isn't always a good thing. Sometimes it comes from places we'd least expect. At the time, her followers saw it as just another dose of Makiva's trademark positivity. But in hindsight, that post feels different, almost as if it were a closing chapter. Makiva Jenkins's life was a story of triumph, hope, and resilience. But as we'll soon uncover, it was also a story of betrayal, heartbreak, and a chilling twist that no one could have predicted. Every love story starts with a spark, and for Makiva and Yuri Jenkins it was no different. They met, fell in love, and built a life that many would envy. Yuri was the kind of partner who supported Makiva's dreams, or at least that's how it seemed at first. Together they created a family and shared a vision of a stable, successful future. On the surface, they looked like the perfect couple. Makiva's motivational posts often highlighted her gratitude for Yuri's presence in her life. She called him her rock, her partner in crime, the man who had been with her through the highs and lows. But as Makiva's star continued to rise, something in their relationship began to shift. Yuri was known to be quiet, reserved. But as Makiva's success grew, friends began to notice a change. They described Yuri as becoming distant, sometimes insecure. And who could blame him? His wife was a powerhouse, an unstoppable force of ambition and success. But was it admiration he felt? Or something else entirely? Jealousy, insecurity, resentment. These are emotions that can creep into any relationship, especially when one partner's light begins to shine brighter than the others. Was that what was happening here? Or was there something deeper, something more dangerous, lurking beneath the surface? To the outside world, they were the epitome of a power couple, raising their kids, building their dreams, and living the life so many aspired to. But behind closed doors, it was a different story. There were whispers of tension, late-night arguments, and an undeniable distance that seemed to grow with each passing day. Relationships can be complicated, even more so when success comes into play. For Makiva and Uri, the cracks in their marriage were starting to show. But no one could have predicted just how deep those cracks ran, or what they would ultimately lead to. Did Uri feel left behind? Overshadowed? Was he struggling to find his place in a life that seemed to revolve around Makiva's dreams? Or was there something even more sinister at play? Success can bring so much joy, but it can also bring challenges, especially to a marriage. So let me ask you, do you think success can strain a relationship? Why or why not? Let's talk about it in the comments below. The world saw a couple living the dream. Behind the scenes, their relationship was unraveling. And soon, that unraveling would lead to an event so devastating that it would leave their family and the entire community in shock. By the spring of 2017, Makiva Jenkins's life appeared to be as bright as ever. Her business was thriving, her kids were growing, and her social media was still a beacon of hope for her followers. But behind the empowering posts and glowing family photos, Makiva was struggling, and for the first time she began to let that struggle show. In the months leading up to June, Makiva started confiding in close friends. She spoke about feeling trapped, about the tension in her marriage, and about wanting more for herself and her children. For the first time, Makiva hinted at changes, big changes, that she believed were necessary for her happiness. She told me she was thinking about leaving him. She wasn't happy anymore, and she felt like she deserved better. But she was scared. Scared of how he'd react. Scared of what it would mean for the kids. Those closest to Makiva knew she had been carrying the weight of her marriage for years. Yuri, once supportive and charming, had grown distant and controlling. Friends described him as increasingly possessive, unable to handle the success and independence that Makiva had built for herself. And Makiva? She was done living under the shadow of that control. We were ready to take the next step, to create a life where she and her children could thrive without fear or tension. But what no one realized was that her decision to break free would set off a chain of events that no one could have imagined. Was Yuri aware of what Makiva was planning? Did he sense that his grip on her was slipping? What would he do if he thought he was losing everything? The life they'd built, the family they shared, and the control he held so tightly. What no one knew at the time was just how deeply these changes would affect Uri. Friends later said he had become withdrawn, moody, and unpredictable. Was it jealousy, fear, or something much darker brewing beneath the surface? Makiva wanted freedom, but freedom comes with a cost, and in her case, it would be more than anyone could bear. June 29, 2017, A frantic 911 call shattered the early morning calm. On the other end, a voice reported a terrifying home invasion. A masked intruder had broken into the Jenkins home, demanded money, and fled after an altercation. The scene described was chaotic, a life-or-death struggle that had tragically ended with Makiva Jenkins losing her life. There was a man. He broke in. "We need help now, please." "Hurry," he said. At first glance, it seemed like a straightforward though horrifying case of a robbery gone wrong. But as detectives began to piece together the events of that night, it quickly became clear this was no ordinary break-in. The crime scene didn't add up. For one, there was no sign of forced entry. The alleged masked intruder seemed to know exactly where to go and exactly who to target. And then there was the nature of the struggle. Neighbors reported hearing raised voices before the sound of gunfire, but no signs of a robbery were present. Makiva's purse, jewelry, and valuables? Untouched. By every detail they uncovered, investigators began to suspect that this wasn't a robbery at all. This was something far more sinister, a crime carefully staged to look like a random attack. But who would do such a thing? And why? As investigators dug deeper, the pieces of the puzzle started falling into place. They uncovered damning evidence linking Yuri to the crime. Text messages revealed conversations between Yuri and an alleged accomplice, conversations about money, plans, and a timeline. Financial records showed suspicious transactions. And then there was the $500,000 life insurance policy Yuri had taken out on Makiva's life just months before her death. To the outside world, Yuri Jenkins was a grieving husband. But behind closed doors, investigators uncovered a calculated plan. One that pointed to a chilling motive: greed. The police also traced the so-called masked intruder, a man named Jovan Joseph. As it turned out, Jovan wasn't a stranger at all. He was hired. And who hired him? According to the evidence, Yuri Jenkins himself. He offered him $20,000 to kill his wife. Imagine trusting someone with your life, only to discover they had orchestrated your death. That's the nightmare investigators uncovered for Makiva Jenkins. The man she had loved, the father of her children, and the person she trusted most, had betrayed her in the most unimaginable way. He hadn't just planned her death. He had tried to profit from it. This revelation sent shockwaves through the community. Friends and family were left grappling with an unthinkable truth. How could someone who seemed so devoted to his wife be capable of such a heinous act? And what signs, if any, had they missed? Yuri Jenkins's arrest marked the beginning of a legal battle that would captivate the nation. The evidence was overwhelming, but the betrayal? That was what people couldn't wrap their heads around. How could someone so close, so trusted, turn out to be a mastermind of murder? As the case moved forward, new details emerged. Details that would paint an even darker picture of what really happened that night. Makiva's life was one of triumph and inspiration, but her death became a symbol of betrayal and greed. And the question remained, would justice truly be served? The years of investigation, depositions, and mounting evidence, the trial of Yuri Jenkins began in 2022. For Makiva's family, it was a chance to hear the truth laid bare in a court of law. But it was also a painful reminder of the betrayal that cost her life. This was not just a trial. It was a reckoning. The prosecution wasted no time painting a damning picture of Yuri Jenkins. Witnesses were called to testify about his jealousy, his financial troubles, and the growing tension in his marriage. Friends and family spoke about how Makiva's rising success seemed to amplify Yuri's insecurities. What once may have been admiration had soured into something far darker. Some of Makiva's closest friends testified that she had confided in them about her desire to leave Yuri. She spoke of feeling controlled, of wanting a better life for her children. The friends' words echoed through the courtroom, adding to the weight of the case. Then came the testimony of Jovan Joseph, the hired gunman. His confession left no room for doubt. Jovan detailed how Yuri had approached him with a plan to stage the robbery and kill Makiva. He recounted the conversations, the payments, and the moment he realized the true extent of what he had been hired to do. Jovan's testimony was the linchpin of the prosecution's case. Combined with the text messages, financial records, and the life insurance policy, it painted a chilling picture of premeditated murder. Yuri Jenkins hadn't just betrayed his wife. He had orchestrated every step of her demise. For Makiva's family, every word was like reopening a wound that had never truly healed. The betrayal wasn't just about money. It was about trust, love, and the life Makiva had worked so hard to build. The man who had vowed to protect her had taken everything from her instead. Yuri Jenkins saw his wife's success as a threat. Instead of celebrating her achievements, he let his jealousy and greed consume him, and when he felt he was losing control, he made a choice. A choice to end her life and benefit from it financially. This was no accident. This was cold, calculated murder. The defense, meanwhile, tried to cast doubt on Jovan Joseph's credibility, arguing that he was seeking a lighter sentence in exchange for his testimony. But the evidence was overwhelming, and the jury saw through the defense's attempts to shift the blame. After weeks of emotional testimony and painstaking arguments, the jury returned with their verdict: guilty of first-degree murder. On May 2, 2022, Yuri Jenkins was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The justice system had spoken. But for Makiva's family, no sentence could bring her back. The pain of her loss was permanent, and the betrayal that led to it left scars that would never fully heal. Makiva Jenkins's story is one of triumph, betrayal, and resilience. Her legacy lives on through her children, her work, and the countless lives she touched. But her story also serves as a stark reminder of how greed and jealousy can destroy even the brightest lights. The courtroom drama may be over, but the impact of Makiva's life and her untimely death will never be forgotten. She remains a symbol of strength, determination, and the power of never giving up, even when life seems impossible. Makiva Jenkins's story is one of resilience, strength, and inspiration. She was a woman who refused to let life's challenges define her. Homelessness, struggle, and fear couldn't hold her back. She fought her way to a better life, not just for herself, but for her children and the countless people she inspired. But her story is also a cautionary tale, a haunting reminder of the dangers that can lurk behind closed doors. Makiva believed in the power of trust, of love, and of partnership. She had no way of knowing that the man she shared her life with would become her greatest threat. Despite the heartbreak, Makiva's legacy lives on. It lives in her children, who carry her spirit forward. It lives in the lives she touched, the people she inspired to dream bigger, work harder, and never give up. And it lives in the lessons her story leaves behind. For all of us, this case forces us to ask some difficult questions. How well do we really know the people we love? And how far would someone go when they feel like they're losing everything? What's one lesson you've learned from Makiva Jenkins's story? Let us know in the comments, and let's keep this conversation alive. Your voice matters. Share your thoughts below, because when we talk about these stories, we not only honor the victims, but we also learn to see the warning signs and protect ourselves and those we love. Thank you for joining us for this deeply moving and unforgettable story. If Makiva's journey resonated with you, don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear her story, and subscribe to our channel for more true crime stories that challenge the way we see the world.